Ah, yes. The dulcet tones of SoCal Saturdays. Louie Rebel, Barry Spears hanging out with you. The first rendition of this show will be back every single Friday to preview the Saturday that will be in Southern California, whether it's at Santa Anita, Del Mar, or Los Al. We'll have you covered here all year with our friends at Amwager. Get in with them, amwager.com. 100% deposit match right now, up to $150. You put in $100, they put in $100. It's that simple. Amwager, amwager.com. Go check them out over there. They are live in California as well. So if you happen to be listening or watching on any of our streams with our friends at the Sporting Tribune there in Los Angeles or San Diego, wherever you are, hey, get hooked up with them. Amwager.com. Get that deposit bonus. Today, Barry, good afternoon to you, my friend. Good morning out west, where we are broadcasting this. Thanks so much for joining us for our first ever SoCal Saturday.
Hey, thank you for having me. This is so much fun. Southern California has always been like a staple for me as far as handicapping and playing the races. And, when I was younger, you really couldn't see a lot of races out there. Now, whole nother story, and it's added to the whole experience as a horse player.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And just a great circuit. Obviously, we're going to talk a ton of turf racing, which gets me excited since the track near my house doesn't do that very well. And so I'm going to talk a ton of turf races on this Saturday. We'll talk a bunch of California bred races as well. But of course, the Palos Verdes, a grade 3 turf race on this card as well. We'll go horse by horse in that one to get you ready for the weekend. Essentially, this show is going to walk race by race through the card every single Saturday. So if you're interested in what's happening in Southern California, we'd love for you to join us here with Amwager and our friends at amwager.com. All right, let's get into it. Race one, man. Like I said, the handicapping show. Let's get into the handicapping here. The opener on Saturday is at 12:30 Pacific time, 3:30 on the East Coast, $33,000 in the kitty for a maiden claimer, $50,000. 45 if you take the weight allowance here, a mile on the turf course there, underneath the beautiful San Gabriel Mountains. Where'd you land here? We've got an 8-5 favorite in Goodfella, the Irish bred Frankie Dettori rides. This horse was really close in a maiden last out under Umberto Rispoli. Where'd you land here, Barry? Mute.
I landed on the 6, Goodfellas.
Okay.
Goodfella.
By the way, I want everyone to know that's watching or listening or whatever you're doing. For Barry Spears to pick an 8-5 horse means that he really thinks this horse is going to win. Go ahead, buddy.
I'm a chalk eating weasel in this spot, but the body of work is just a little bit better than Over the Ocean. I mean, the negative is this horse has had 13 tries at it and hasn't won, but I think this is a field that this horse can handle.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And frankly, the horse has run well at Santa Anita as well, twice hitting the board in 4 runs at the track. Frankly, its best runs have been recently, right? Within a couple of lengths of the leaders. We always joke, that if a horse knows that he's going to get the same amount of food if he finishes second or third, it gets to be a problem after a while. And that's why, frankly, I landed on the 7 Over the Ocean here. I'll take Umberto Rispoli, who I think is outside of course, Frankie Dettori, the best turf rider on the circuit right now in Southern California, at least on a permanent basis, has won 20% of his mounts since December 26th, the beginning of this meeting in Santa Anita. I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to try to give the horse a pass for the last race. I think a mile and an eighth was just a little bit too long. We see a lot, Barry, of speed horses getting the lead and keeping the lead in mile races, especially over the turf course at Santa Anita. And I expect Over the Ocean to do that here. I think the 6 horse is absolutely going to hit the board here as well, Barry. So if someone's looking to play an exacta something like that, it ain't going to pay much, folks. So watch yourself here. I think the 7 and the 6 have to be part of it. I landed on a little bit of a longer shot in the 3rd spot here, Bear, in Bound to Succeed, 6-1 here. And the great thing here is that I get Juan Hernandez at that kind of price, right? And frankly, I think the 6 and the 7 are going to take so much money, even in a shorter field here, that we're going to see Bound to Succeed inch up in that number. Has tried the distance before, hasn't really broken through yet, but was 4th by less than 2 lengths last out under Hector Berrios. Like I said, picks up Juan Hernandez riding for Peter Urton. So if you wanted a longer shot play, I think the 5 Bound to Succeed has a legitimate shot as well. Do you have anybody longer here, Bear, that you like?
Yeah. Number 2, Resemblance. There's a version of this race where Resemblance can just slide in right behind Noble Gary and kind of get a good trip and hang around. I think that's really, really possible in this spot. Not sure what kind of price you're going to get, but it should be a lot better than what you would get on the 6 or the 7.
Yeah, and Tiago Pereira been with this horse since the beginning. Second and fourth place finishes, last two out. For resemblance, finishing though within 2 lengths of the winners in both of those. Keeps all the same medication, all of those things, same conditions. Should be one to include in your trifecta or exacta plays as well. Race 2 will be an optional claimer. The optional claiming price is very, very low because this is one of the new Northern California races that is supplementing the card there at Santa Anita. Barry, I really like these races. I like that these are included in the Santa Anita cards because these are a little tougher to handicap, right? Trying to figure out which horses are going to ship well and with those sorts of things. So we'll start looking at some of those trends as we go through these shows week by week. But in this case, man, a $16,000 purse. What a mile on the dirt course. It is a 1 mile track there at Santa Anita. You start and finish in the same spot. Barry, I'll go first here on this. And we see so many of these names that we're used to in the Northern California ranks as well, the Jeff Mullins of the world and all that. Fun to see them down at Santa Anita now, but the 7 Warren's World is 8-5, and I think a worthy favorite here as well. Did win for fun last out at this level last time in the $5,000 ranks, was claimed in that one. And a smaller barn here in the Trees barn, only 41 starters last year, but this horse gets connected with Armando Ayuso, who used to ride up north, but has been in Southern California for, been a couple of years now, frankly, since moving his tack from Golden Gate down there. The only reason I'm playing an 8-5 is because I'm trying to beat this 4-5 here, Barry, in Nameless, who I do think I have in the second spot, and I do indeed. Won his last time, last one out as well, at the same level as well for Jeff Mullins here and Juan Hernandez. Essentially, I'm taking Armando Ayuso in a claimer race here, Barry, as opposed to a Juan Hernandez just to get value. But I think 7-6 on top for me.
Yeah, I went the same direction. It doesn't really seem like anybody else could get bet in this spot other than those 2 horses.
Right.
The 7 has a little bit of a pace advantage. I don't think this pace is going to get too hot, and 7 looks like he will get the run of the race. I wouldn't be surprised if that actually is flip flopped, where the 7 actually goes off favored, even though
Okay.
the morning line says differently.
Okay.
But you know, it is what it is for the second race on the card. Very low level kind of claimer. This has, having these Golden Gate type races here adds a little kind of turfway flavor to it, because these are all
I
lower
agree.
level type races, and
Yep.
you can get some chaos. So it's an added bonus with the Santa Anita now.
Yeah, I think this is the spot where if you wanted to get creative in an early sequence, whether it's an early pick 5, pick 4, even a little pick 3 in here, maybe a double, use like a Mischief's Thirsty here coming out of a win at Pleasanton last out at a mile 70, right? That kind of race where Barry in Southern California, we see the buyer figures are always really high for whatever reason, right? We always see that. Santa Anita seems to be the spot. If you need a good buyer figure for your horse, run them there. In Pleasanton, we almost never see that. So I always go by final times, Barry, when trying to compare the different circuits between Northern and Southern California. I think a minute 44 is totally fine in here for Mischief's Thirsty, the one horse here. These are just connections that we don't know very well in Southern California. So I think the morning line maker is probably right here, Barry, to have this horse at 12-1. But it also offers the better an incredible opportunity to have a horse of this caliber. Frankly, that's won 2 of his last 3, finished third in the other one. Same jockey for the last 2 races, makes a trip down from Pleasanton, like I mentioned, seems to fit in this class pretty well.
Yeah. It's kind of a crapshoot after you get past the 6 and the 7.
Right.
I thought the 3 showed some speed last time out of nowhere, and maybe this horse is rounding into form. Has some races back in July that would be real competitive, if not win this spot. So I'd give that one a shot to kind of turn things around and hit the board at a big price.
Cooper Klimt is the 2 horse here, is in for the tag for 62.50. So we will see if that one gets claimed out of this race. Race 3 is another claimer, $20,000 here, $23,000 for the purse, 6.5 furlongs there on the dirt course at Santa Anita. And this is for Fillies and Mares 4 and up, never won 3 races. And so we are pretty simple, straightforward condition here. Barry, who'd you land on?
I landed on the 1. We're throwing one
Hey,
downfield.
let's go. Our first long shot.
Yes.
Let's go. Long shot. I love it.
Strange Addiction. This horse, if you eliminate those grass races, right? This horse is right there with everybody else. If you just eliminate those races, and then you can even eliminate the synthetic ones.
Synthetic races. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So the October 20th race all the way to the December 13th race. Any one of those fits in this spot. And this horse is technically dropping in class, although I think that class is probably this level fits.
Mm.
Coming from Pleasanton to the allowance, the first level allowance races into this spot, non-winners of 3, this horse might have a little bit of a pace advantage. So you might see this horse closer up to the pace than what you can see in the past dirt races over the summer and deeper into November. So I I'd give this horse a shot in this race. I mean, there's no world beaters in here. Um, the favorites look okay,
Right.
but the pace actually sets up better for the one than it does them. They have similar running styles.
Yeah, I couldn't quite figure this one out either. I landed on Ufta, the 6 horse here for Kyle Frey and for Eric Kruchak. But I don't love it, right? The horse is coming off the turf in a sprint there. We're going back to the dirt here, which has been a good angle, but there's not a ton of data on it. But I've seen the horse run well at other places, 2 for 4 lifetime trying the dirt. I like the horse getting back to this spot, 1 for 1 at Santa Anita with a really good buyer as well. So I landed there, but I'm with you. I mean, you have to go back to October to get that buyer figure back then. So is that the same horse that we're going to get this weekend? I'm with you. 20-1 here isn't ridiculous. I'll tell you one that I'm against is the 5 Stellar Cap. I cannot figure out for the life of me why this horse would be in at 7-2. This is the one that I'm going to try to beat and keep out of my tickets. Is the 5 horse Stellar Cap here for Thiago Pereira, who we just sang the praises of in the previous race, of course. But in this spot, I'll try to beat. I think the 4 Isabel Ludlow is really interesting to hear too at 5-1. Glatt Herrera combination, a solid 11% together, considering the kinds of races that they team up on at Santa Anita. I really think this horse has a chance. Finished a good second at this level last time, going the same distance, a little bit shorter at Santa Anita last out. Had the lead. If that horse can even just keep a little bit more of that pace under check at the beginning of the race, because they went 22 and 45 real quick. They keep that a little bit higher, maybe 22 and change, get up into the 46s after that, might have a real shot here as well. Did win at the claiming 16 level at Del Mar, just a couple of stops back as well. And I think Toulouse de Trac, of course, the 7 horse here is the favorite for a reason, did win last time. But Barry, I kind of have a rule. If a horse went 1 for 8 last year, I doubt very much they're going to go back to back to start 2025, for example.
Yeah, that's a tough task. I
Yeah.
mean, especially in this race, there's way more speed. I mean, that race, I know the fractions are quick and everything, but there was nobody around that horse at all the whole race. And I just can't imagine this race setting up that same exact way. And I think that's the only way the 7 can win.
Got it.
The 6 is a little bit tougher. I mean, I can see the instructions they're going to say for they're going to tell Kyle Frey, sit right off of the speed
Please sit
and
right off.
let him go in the stretch.
Yeah.
And if he runs, he runs. If he doesn't, he doesn't. And this lower level type race, it's you get these inconsistent types like Stellar Cap is kind of like the same way, except on the lead. So these are tough races because they fall in and out of form so often. I always have to give longer shots like Strange Addiction a shot.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's Barry Spears. My name's Louie Rabeau. This is SoCal Saturdays with Amwager and our friends at the Sporting Tribune. Make sure you get into sportingtribune.com and, of course, amwager.com. 100% match in your first deposit with our friends at Amwager, live in California now. Amwager, amwager.com. Go check them out and get signed up today to bet all the great racing in Southern California. An optional claimer comes up next in race 4. We're back to the turf here, Barrow, a mile on the turf course there. $34,000 in the kitty, claiming price of $50,000 in this one. Or you might, unless you can kind of weasel your way out by being a Calbred, which is always a good thing to do in these races. I thought an interesting field here, Barry. We do only have 6 in here. Earn Not Given comes in at 4-5. You can try to beat the fave?
No, not at all.
Me neither.
No, that horse looks the best on paper. Should get the trip to boot. I know a lot of these horses kind of look similar on paper, but just the speed figures alone should place this horse in the winner's circle.
Right.
I really, there's nothing to get too excited about with any of these horses, but I mean, the favorite definitely looks the best horse in here.
Yeah, I think Earn Not Given looks the best for sure. Victor Espinosa, very slow start to this meet, 1 for 15 at Santa Anita. If you wanted to try to pick nits here, I guess you could do that with him. But overall, obviously, we know what Victor Espinosa is capable of and should be just fine. Can you believe he only had 111 mounts last year?
Yeah, I mean, I remember I thought I heard him say that he was going to dial back a little bit and go for quality, not quantity. So I guess that's what he's doing.
111 is
I
pretty
mean,
low, though, brother.
that's not many. I don't know. Was he hurt or anything? I don't remember.
I don't remember that either, but I went with the 5 in the second spot here. Dino Dave comes out of a mile win in a maiden special. It was a state restricted race at Del Mar, but frankly, all the splits make sense for that one as well. The 138 is going to be a little slow at Santa Anita over the mile course there on the turf. You see lots of 134s and 136s, that kind of thing, including Earn Not Given in his last race was sub 137 there, which is why I do think he's got probably the best shot. Earn Not Given, probably the best single in the early pick 5, Barry, because I think he is.
I wouldn't say the best, but he should win.
Okay, I got it. Okay. The best. I don't want to use like a quality word here. Yeah, right.
Yeah, he still should win.
Yeah.
I'd give the 3 a shot a little bit in here.
Okay.
There's not too many horses in this race that have won or ran against winners. There's only 3, the 2, the 3, and the 4. I would use those 3 to be honest.
Okay.
But a 2-3 exacta cold seems like the play to me. The 3 ran good enough and should, be close up to the pace. I'd give that one a shot just because of the fact that this horse has run against winners a few times and didn't run all that poorly.
Well, and if we like Earn Not Given that much to finish only a couple lengths behind Earn Not Given, and you get the 12-1 price, yeah, I'm with you. That's not a crazy play in there whatsoever. Closing the early pick 5 will be race 5 on Saturday at Santa Anita. It is a maiden 50, 5.5 furlongs on the dirt course there. This is for Calbreds and 3-year-olds in this case. Western Freedom and 8-5 inside favorite, second time starter for Brian Corner in this spot. Barry, people are going to learn on this show that I love a second time starter a lot. But once in a while, Barry, you got to try to hit a long shot. Louie's long shot is in this race. The 9 on the outside, El Ondeado, comes in for Jorge Parabon. Why not? Ran in this level the last 2 times out, both at Los Al and at Del Mar. And I'm largely going on the works at Santa Anita since then. And they've been really good on the dirt course. So perhaps this horse getting to try to get back to Santa Anita will really like it. I don't love any of the favorites in here. I think the 1 should win here, Barry, but I don't love that horse. I can't even be guaranteed that in a state bred $50,000 claimer that horse is going to show back up like it did the first race. So I'll take a flyer 10-1 on the 9 on the outside here in race 5.
Yeah, I'm not too enthused about Western Freedom drawing the rail. It might be a little bit of a disadvantage because I think the 2 might have equal amount of zip and also a Parabon trainee. The workout on February 2nd really stuck out to me. It's the longest, fastest gate work closest to the race. I use that angle a lot when there's little form. It's kind of an idea that the horse has some talent and quickness out of the gate, speed, which wins a lot of maiden races. Horses really don't understand how to run yet, and sometimes the fastest horse actually wins. So I like to use that a lot, and Distant Fleet is the horse that actually has that. Getting Lasix first time out, trainers 17%. It's good enough in this spot. Yeah. And I would also
the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean that he does okay with the first time starters. Good enough, especially in this spot compared to everybody else. Gray area, the 8 actually caught my eye too. I think the slight drop will make all the difference. The last workout, January 19th, this horse seemed to perk up a little bit. Getting the blinkers and getting a rider change to Edgar Payeras might make all the difference. And I think this horse can be close up, has a little bit of experience, so probably won't need the lead or, could be right around it and still be able to finish. So I'll give that one a shot at 8-1 too.
And if people don't know their LoSal night racing, for example, they wouldn't know that Edgar Perez is a sprint specialist, right? This is what he
Absolutely.
does. This kind of distance is what he does very well. So I don't hate that. I was looking at those works and thinking of it differently than you, Barry, which was, man, I wish this race were at LoSal for him.
Yeah,
That's
obviously,
because I
yeah.
was like,
I
yeah, because the
push
first
all
time
in.
out he looked great. Yeah, you push all in is exactly right. I like the 7 in here, and you have to draw hard lines through this one for sure. But you talk about the gate work. This is another one that had a very good gate work just the other day. And so Sir Tom coming off of a longer layoff for Doug O'Neill. They gelded this one. They're taking the blinkers off. This is such a classic freaking Doug O'Neill horse, man. Just, oh, why not us? Yeah, we can, let's go ahead and win this one. Yeah. So Sir Tom, this just feels like the Bodie Express child that screws my tickets early on in the California thing. And so Sir Tom, an interesting one to me as well. Obviously, I think anybody can win race 5 there Saturday at Santa Anita. We move on to race 6. This does start the all turf pick 3 and the late pick 5 as well on the card here. Palos Verdes up next. We'll talk about that grade 3, go runner by runner in that one. Barry Spears, Louie Rabeau with you here on the AmWager SoCal Saturdays. We are on the Sporting Tribune as well. $25,000 claimer here over the mile turf course. Again, Barry, we talked about it before the show. Tons of turf racing, and that's exactly what we're getting for here. 4-year-old and up on the filly and mare side, 34,000 in the kitty here. This is just a straight up claimer. There's no conditions to this one. Barry, where did you land?
I landed on number 2, Annie's Joy, reluctantly, very reluctantly. I mean, it was kind of by attrition, to be honest with you. Nobody else really looked as good as that one. I was trying to get the horse beat, trying every angle, way, shape, or form, but I just couldn't do it. It seems like the rest of the horses just aren't fast enough, including the morning line favorite, Big Mama Sue. So they're going to be up against it. Mike Smith, he's a vet, old vet, does the right thing. Whether this, if nobody goes to the front, he'll be on the front. If not, he'll be right second, right off it.
Yep.
And that's probably where you need to be. Yeah.
I'm interested because I'm going to lean on the 2 outside horses, one of them that you just besmirched in Big Mama Sue, but then also the 8 Chasing Serendipity. The reason, Barry, is very simple for me. It is the record at the track for Big Mama Sue, who has 3 wins at Santa Anita, and it is the record at the distance for Chasing Serendipity, who does have 4 wins and has hit the board half the time in 16 runs at the distance as well. I'm just going on experience here, and that's really where I'm leaning in my handicapping. You mentioned another runner. I think the 2 horse is a little interesting here as well. And Annie's Joy, like you mentioned with Mike Smith, I think the class drop does matter for her as well, right? Coming out of that, more of that starter allowance kind of company for non-2s and then getting into this sort of company. But that horse didn't win last year, and it didn't win on debut this year. And I start to wonder about those kinds of things. Whereas I can get a Big Mama Sue who won a couple times last year. I can get a Chasing Serendipity who won a couple times last year. So that's where I'm going to lean here between the 7 and the 8. Which one do you like
more? The 7.
Okay.
Just slightly. I mean, the 8,
okay.
I think the 8's running style is going to be up against him or against her in this spot because it's going to be like a chase sort of situation. I'm not really sure if they're going to try to kind of get up close or lag back and try to swoop. It's just a tough post position. That's all.
Well, there you go. We move on to the Palos Verdes. It will be race 7 tomorrow on Saturday at Santa Anita Park. Again, AmWager, amwager.com, 100% sign up, match right now. Get in, first account there. Everybody in California, you are eligible. Get in up to $150, a 100% match. You put in $1, they put in $1. They want to have you as a client. Great platform, by the way. Tons of great options. Go check them out at amwager.com. The Palos Verdes is a grade 3. It is a sprint over 6 furlongs on the dirt. We got a field of 6 for this one. It's for 4 and up, and it is $100,000, of course. A grade 3. And we've got a couple of names. I think if people, follow West Coast racing, Anarchist is in here. The 2 horse, 10-1 on a horse like Anarchist in a short field. For All Mankind on the outside as well has been running in different races, was in the Santa Anita Sprint Challenge most recently amongst Stakes Company. Man, is Big City Lights really worthy of 2 to 5 here, Barry?
2 to 5 kind of shocked me, but when you go through everybody, it's hard to get around this horse. I mean, even the horses that have sort of the similar running style just aren't as fast. Like the 4 Bartholdi, you know, on paper, visually looks exactly like Big City Lights, except for those buyer numbers are just not as high. Uh, it's just one of those things where this horse just speed figure wise is faster than every horse in this race, and that doesn't happen very often.
The thing here, you get Juan Hernandez aboard Big City Lights, the one. That horse ran a 109 and 2 last out over this distance. Okay. Bartholdi, who you mentioned, ran a 109 flat, but that was with Tyler Bass. Do you care about that?
Nah, it doesn't matter. Fast is fast is fast, but against who? That's really the difference between the two of them, because you could have Big City Lights drop into this spot,
right,
and just dominate without even getting a triple digit buyer.
Yeah, the other part is he was just ridden out. He ran a 109 and 2 without being pressed, right? Big City Lights in his last race. I mean,
Yeah,
he
was
dominated
very,
one
very
by
easy.
over 7, and then before that ran into Cary Grant, won that one by over 8 lengths under Kimura. So even just a good third place finish in that Pat O'Brien, no one was catching Raging Torrent. He finished behind Raging Torrent and Chosen Braun. I mean, zero shame in any of that, right? Comes back, is favored last 2 out. Has run without Lasix a lot, frankly, right? And that's a thing that we got to watch. Bartholdi, I don't think has ever run without Lasix, for example. So, we get into medication and those kinds of things. I don't know how much Barry Spears cares about those kinds of things, but yes, it makes Big City Lights a big, big favorite here. Would you have Bartholdi second? Maybe a roll on Big Joe? Where would you land if we're trying to play an exacta here?
Ooh, this is a tough spot for everybody, to be honest. But I'd go with the 2.
I
I think
agree. Okay.
I think the 2 can kind of just skate right around with the 1 and 1-2 all the way around like a choo-choo train.
Anarchist has run 3 times in Santa Anita. Do you know where he's finished in all 3 of those runs? Second place. So there you go. There's your cold exacta 1-2 in the Palos Verdes. Roll on Big Joe.
What's funny?
Go ahead.
That August 24th Pat O'Brien race, if you just switch the top 2, those are the 3 fastest horses out in California.
Yep.
So it'd be Chosen Braun, Raging Torrent, then Big City Lights. I mean, it couldn't have gotten any easier in the Pat O'Brien, to be honest.
No, that's right.
But those are the. I mean, if you want to keep that as the benchmark, those are the top 3 out there. And then look at what he's facing. Not that these horses are bad; they just don't have the experience or the class.
Yeah, they don't have the class of the other ones that we've talked about. You're exactly right, especially about that Pat O'Brien field looks now in retrospect, like you said, a terrific field. Top 3 finishers are there as fast as anyone in the sprinting, especially on dirt in this country. Interesting thing with Big City Lights. This pattern of starts is so Mandela, is it not? To give his horses kind of this cushion between starts. And I know for some of us, it's like, oh, just run your horses. But then he gave us flight lines, so we can't be that mad. But, the thing here is this horse runs in November, then he runs in mid-January. Now he gets a little bit, just about a month off. So this is actually a tight squeeze for him. But second off this kind of layoff, of course, for Richard Mandela.
Surgical-like precision.
31%. That's exactly right. So 23% in graded stakes. We will look at him in the 7th race. 1-2 exacta, but looking for the 1 to nominate there. Hanging out with Barry Spears. I'm Louie Rabot at Radio Louie. Find him at Urban Handicapper. And of course, amwager.com. Go check out our friends over there. We move on to race 8. It is a maiden special sprint on that turf shoot, which I love so much. At Santa Anita, not as much as the downhill course. It's okay to say, but I love it all the same. Maiden special, 60,000 in the kitty here. This is for 3-year-old fillies who are maidens. Of course, a first timer as the favorite for John Sheriff's here in the 1 horse here. Barry, where did you land here, man? Because I'm wondering, I got a long shot here on top.
Yeah, this one you got to let it fly. I mean, the 1 as the favorite is, I mean, you got to be pretty good in order to make that work. And I just couldn't endorse that horse. The workouts look fine and all, but it's a tough task. Can you remember?
And I'm not picking on anybody. I'm really not. I promise. In your mind, can you even think to a time when a horse was 2-1 on debut and the trainer had won one of their last 22 debut runs? Can you think of that?
No,
I can't either. Not. So it stands out as an incorrect line for that reason. That's all. I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, given the context, I really don't think that horse is going to be favored anyway. But I did land on the 9.
Okay.
We're throwing one
Nice.
downfield here. Favorite to you. You know, Visadero is a
Oh
pretty
yeah.
good horse in his own right. Um, Out of Kitten's Joy, out
Yep.
of an Arch Mare. I mean, this horse has to be able to turf a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
I
A little
like
bit,
the
right?
I like the workouts on January 19th and January 9th,
Yep.
especially the 9th because it was out of the gate. Again, that's where I was saying how gate works kind of hint to ability and quickness out of the gate to get position. I'm not sure how fast this horse actually is, but I know this horse can get out of the gate. Using their go-to rider in Fresu, I think this horse is interesting in this spot where it's kind of a crapshoot. Other than like Jungle Piece, who I think has
Mm.
a pretty decent shot because this horse has 2 runs. But other than that, it's really what's your flavor?
I'll tell you my flavor.
Okay.
It's a woman named Cloudy Woman. Cloudy Women,
Oh,
daughter of
oh,
Cloud Computing. I was there when he won that Preakness, I should say. I liked the run last time. Got Lasix the first time. Hector Barrios got the mount last time. Really liked how that horse looked over the distance to back as well. Gave a little bit of time off from October to January. We're second in the form cycle here. That's a 27% angle for John Sadler here. I'm putting the 7 on top. I'm going to be pretty aggressive with this one. This feels like, Barry, a pretty easy double for me, 1-7 from races 7 to 8. I like that a lot, frankly. I think that's the kind of play you have to make to maximize value on a horse like Big City Lights, right? Is to play it in a double or in a pick 3 or something like that, kind of hide that horse in the wager that way. But I'll go with Cloudy Women here on top, man. I think that Juan Hernandez is a great addition here. He and John Sadler winning at 24% together at Santa Anita in their most recent runs, the last 46. I mean, a decent sample size as well. So yeah, I'll go to the 7 Cloudy Women here.
nice. Yeah, I really didn't. I wasn't too enthusiastic about the horses that have run already.
Right.
Um,
Oh, I get it.
but they
Yeah.
can be any kind. It's not like they've run a whole bunch of times, maybe once or twice, and that's not really a judgment on anybody. So it's really a crapshoot, this race. I would never take a favorite under any circumstances. Even if they win, I wouldn't even feel bad about it. Like, let's say that Entressa wins, you
Right.
can't really feel bad about not betting that horse.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. And frankly, yeah, like I said, I backed a Sheriff's horse with Cloudy Women, or excuse me, a Sadler horse with Cloudy Women. I back Sheriff's in other races, just not with first time starters. It just doesn't seem like something that, he's shooting for. In our, Rusty Arnold, for example, in Kentucky. And I know I'm always looking at that. I see a first timer for him. I'm like, great, I'll see it for the second race. I mean, it's just one of those. I'm not even hating on Rusty. Like, Rusty does a great job, right? It's not that. It's just, I know first time out, I don't have to worry about it. That's just not part of my
Right.
handicap. In this spot, we'll
Exactly.
see. Like you said, would we be stunned? No. The answer is no. Not stunned, no. Surprised? Yeah, I would be. I'll put it that way. We move on to the late double here. By the way, I forgot to mention, if you have not spent much time wagering in Southern California, a couple of cool additions, great additions, I think, to the betting card and available bets at Santa Anita. The late pick 3 is a $3 minimum, Mary, with a 15% takeout, low takeout. Higher floor means better payouts. It just does. A reminder that we just talked about race 8 that will start the late pick 3. And in race 9 starts the late double. It is a $5 minimum with a 15% takeout. So that is also extraordinarily playable. I don't know if, man, I got to say, Barry, and this is when I knew I was a full degenerate, was when Golden Gate closed. I thought, oh man, no more golden hour wagers. That's all I thought about. That's all I thought about. Dollar minimum on that big four, the $5 minimum on that. I played that double.
Man, the pick fours were great, man.
Oh,
They paid so good,
they
a
won.
lot.
Yes. Oh, they played 1,000 to 1 all the time. Just all the time. They just did. It was great. Oh, man.
It's
Those were fun. And it
unbelievable.
was over. And a pick 4 was done in an hour. I mean, it was good.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was bang,
fun.
bang, 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 and then you're like, all right, let's cash.
That was great. So race 9 starts that late double, that $5 late double, 15% takeout on that. So let's see if we can't find some horses in here that tickle our fancy. A state bred optional claimer here. 20,000 is the claiming price. 61,000 is the purse. 6.5 furlongs on the dirt here. And this is for 4-year-olds and up, open company that have never won essentially a second race other than maiden, blah, blah, blah. Those conditions that we see so often. Lonesome Stew, another odds on in here, Barry. What's this? 3 odds on already, maybe 4 on this card. Antonio Frace, who keeps them out here. For trainer Mark Glatt, a worthy 3 to 5. Are we looking at, could you play like 2 horses in each race and hit the pick 5 late? I doubt it very
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Lonesome Stew
course,
is a standout here. I mean, his
I
his last 2 buyers are twice as much as everybody else's. And it's just he just stands out. It's going to be really hard to beat this horse no matter what he does. He could go in the lead, he might come off the pace. Whatever he wants to do, he can do it. There's really not much underneath. I do like the 6 a little bit. Has a race way back September 2023
Okay.
that kind of fits here. And this horse has been running on the turf for quite a while. Even his recent dirt races weren't that bad and kind of stack up okay here. With the slight drop, I think that puts him closer to the pace, and that's probably where you need to be.
I have the 4 on top as well. I thought Tom Seaver on the outside was interesting. Only 3 lifetime starts, has won 2 of them, 1 on debut in a state restricted maiden special at Santa Anita. They immediately put this horse up against winners at Santa Anita on the turf, goes ahead and wins that one as well under Antonio Frace, who drops the Lasix. They try him in the Echo Eddie, which is a state bred sprint race at Santa Anita. That was in April of last year. Gets a ton of time off here for Phil D'Amato. If you follow Phil D'Amato, this is what he does. He brings horses back in these kinds of spots, hits at 18% off these kind of longer layoffs. He and Armando Ayuso, 2 for their last 10 together, 24% overall in all competitions. So I think for value, 6 to 1 on the outside. If I'm looking to fill out that exacta, Barry, I'd go 4-8 in this spot.
Okay. Hey, now, didn't he like throw like a sinker? Wasn't that his pitch?
Was that Tom Seaver's big pitch?
I don't know. I don't remember. I remember he was a nice pitcher, but I remember he didn't throw gas. He was kind of like a Maddox type, but I could be wrong.
Nicknamed Tom Terrific in the franchise, he played 20 seasons in the majors for the Mets, Reds, White Sox, and Red Sox from 67 to 86. Commonly described as the most iconic player in Mets history, he played a significant role in their World Series win over the Orioles. 61 career shutouts. I hear those kinds of numbers, Barry. I wonder if anyone alive now will ever throw 61 shutouts.
No way. They don't pitch enough.
They just don't do it anymore, right? I mean,
they don't pitch enough.
Hall of Fame, first year of eligibility in 1992, receiving the highest percentage of votes ever at the time. How about that? So there you go. I do not see anything about his pitches, unfortunately.
Boo.
But he and Walter Johnson have 3,000 strikeouts, 300 wins, and an earned average under 300, under 3. So there you go. Tom Seaver, worthy of having a horse named after him. I almost cursed and I didn't need to do that. So there you go. Little Tom Seaver on the Amwager SoCal Saturday with you. Again, 100% deposit bonus. Get in with our friends at Amwager, amwager.com for all of those details as well. Maiden Special closes it on Saturday. And again, this is going to be a Calbred race in here. In the chute, 6 furlongs on the turf, $60,000 for 3-year-olds. These are for maidens. Hothead is in here. The 2 horse at 5 to 2 has really enjoyed, at least last out, the switch to the turf here. Are you going to try the second time turfer here?
No, we're going to try to get that one beat. That horse actually did run big, and I do expect that horse to run big again.
I agree.
But I'm going to try a first-time starter. We're going to throw it downfield here to try to bail out with the 10 Gemini Buzz.
Love it.
This horse has some precocity in the pedigree. There's a lot of turf sprint action going on in the pedigree. A lot of horses winning early, first or second start. This horse is showing some zip in the mornings. January 5th, a nice gate work, 48 flat, and then another one on February 3rd. So we'll give that one a shot at 15 to 1. Why not? Hansen does pretty good first time out, and on the turf, he does his best work there. So why not?
It's not even a question. This is where Ryan Hansen is the best. That's right. This kind of race. That's exactly right. With a first-time starter, and frankly, he and Escobedo have started to really hook up as well. 23 starts together, 13% winning percentage on those. That's plenty good for me to get 15 to 1 on a horse. In that case, I think the 4 and the 2 are the favorites here. Do you know what's amazing? I landed on the 10 as my long shot as well. So there you go. If anybody's looking for some kind of long shot here in this spot. Barry and I have a sheet that we share together, but I made sure not to look at Barry's picks before
The
we
Ricky
sat down.
Bobby, either you're first or last.
Yeah, well, you and I landed 10-2 in our top 3. You had the 12 as well. Another first timer here. Silver I Am. I think that's one worth Asael Espinosa here for Phil D'Amato. If this horse but if this horse runs like it did at Los Al, and you know this, Bear, we see, and this is something we'll talk about when we get to the Los Al meetings, whether it's in September or whatever. All the turf horses that are very comfortable on the dirt surface at Los Al, because it does seem to translate well. So a horse working at Los Al doesn't bother me ahead of this race.
Yeah. I mean, Phil D'Amato,
Also
he kind of
right?
owns the turf out there,
Yeah,
so
yes.
he knows what he's doing slightly. So I'll defer to his expertise, but that horse doesn't look all that bad. The post isn't the greatest, but
Correct.
Cantaros, a sprinter, why not? Why not throw him
I'm
in?
with you. And frankly, yeah, Alphabet Song on the damn side. That's a name that I don't hear too terribly often, but when we get into Calbreds, you talk about those sorts of things. But yeah, it's all sprinting, right? I mean, this is what this horse should want to do. Interesting one. I do love to, and you'll get tired of hearing about this on the show if you hang around with us. I love when people breed a horse for like $3,000 and then
That's the best.
it's a breed special or something. Yeah, it's the best. I love those kinds of stories. And so Silver I Am, a $12,500 son of Cantharos on the breeding side, or the homebreds there for the folks there. But yeah, no, it should be a fun day on Saturday. A lot of odds on favorites. Let's say there were 4 of them here, Barry. How many of them do you think end up winning?
3, just on the average. 3 out of the
I
10.
think that sounds about right. They'll win 3 of the races there. Man, oh man, that was a fun card. I like a mix, Bear, and you and I have talked about this before, of getting that Palos Verdes in the middle where we get those high-end sprinters, very fast, very capable sorts of horses. Nothing wrong with a good state bred race mixed right next to it. Just trying to figure out the patterns of those horses coming out of a Pleasanton or whatever it might be. I love this kind of mix of races. So kudos to the folks in the racing office there and making sure that we've got 12 horses in the finale, right? That we know, leading into that, whether you're playing that late pick 3, the late double, or, picking up the late pick 5, something like that, you're going to get a chance at a real price in the last race.
Yeah. Notoriously, I like playing the state bred races because there's always a lot of chaos. I mean, you get these small time breeders that get these nice horses that kind of come out of nowhere, especially in the maidens. It's such a good betting opportunity. As long as you can seize that moment and bet it correctly, you can make some good money, even if it's just that one race.
There you go. Well, again, amwager.com is where we are pointing you to. 100% deposit match. Right now, up to $150. Get over there, amwager.com. Available in Southern California and all over, lots of places, but go ahead and bet all of those California races with our friends at Amwager. He's Barry Spears. I'm Louie Rabeau. You can catch me tonight at 6 o'clock on ESPN 680 1057 on the Kentucky Racing Spotlight. Back at it next week on SoCal Saturdays again as we go back to Santa Anita and look at the card then. Barry, thanks so much, man, for being here for the inaugural edition of the show. You are always muted up when I need you to say something nice. You know that? That's what you do to me, Barry Spears. You throw the mute button on when I'm very nice to you, and then you're like, oh, I'm saying something nice, but I'm muted, so you can't hear it, and everyone's mad at me. That's what happens here. You understand? Go on, Barry.
Oh, I feel horrible.
Well, don't do that. That's not a good way to start the weekend. Oh,
no,
man.
thank you so much for having me on, man.
Dude.
On the first one, it's definitely an honor. I like being the first to do stuff.
It's the opposite of the Chappelle Show skit where we are told never to be the first person to do something. But yes, we will take the first foray into the SoCal Saturdays. We'll be back next week and every week with a preview of racing in Southern California. Again, back at it at Santa Anita next week. His name is Barry. My name is Louie. We're back with you next time here on SoCal Saturdays. Thanks to our friends at Amwager and our friends out there, of course, with the Sporting Tribune. Look for my column tomorrow as well, previewing the Palos Verdes and the late sequence and getting a wager together. Good luck with those wagers this weekend. Go check them out, amwager.com.